This video explores the role of the Australian Classification Board in regulating online content. To properly explore the Classification Board's role, three main topics will be covered, including the general role of the Australian Classification Board, how the Australian Classification Board rates content, and the Australian Classification Board's role in managing online content. The Australian Classification Board is an independent statutory body established under the Classifications, Publications, Films and Computer Games Act of 1995. It acts independently of both state and federal government to classify media available for exhibition, sale or hire in Australia. The Classification Board will rate every film, computer game and some publications, dependent upon exemptions, before they're released to the Australian public. It does not rate programs broadcast on television, live performances or audio CDs. Each reviewable form of media is classified into a particular rating that varies depending on the type of media. The Classification Board will also assign consumer advice to the rating provided. This advice considers the general features of the work that cause the particular classification rating, including the general themes of the work. How is content rated by the Australian Classification Board? The Classification Board rates content according to the National Classification Code of May 2005. The code seeks to ensure that adults can access media they are interested in, while balancing the need to protect children and individuals from content they may find offensive. The code sets out factors associated with each classification for each type of media. In addition to this, the Classification Board considers the importance of context, the content's impact, and 6 classifiable elements of drug use, language, nudity, themes, sex, and violence. If classified, media can be exhibited, sold, and hired to the Australian public. Content that is gravely offensive may be refused classification and is banned from exhibition, sale, and hiring. What is the Australian Classification Board's role in managing online content? Unlike other forms of media, Australia's online classification scheme is based on complaints from the public. These complaints are not lodged with the Australian Classification Board, but with the Australian Communications and Media Authority, or ACMA. The Broadcasting Services Act of 1992 splits complaints into 2 categories: content hosted in Australia, covered under Schedule 7, and internationally hosted content, covered under Schedule 5. Both schedules allow for members of the public to lodge complaints with ACMA for prohibited or potentially prohibited content. For ACMA to take action against this content, it must be classified as prohibited content. Prohibited content is defined under Clause 20 of Schedule 7 and is dependent upon the rating provided to the content by the Classification Board. As such, ACMA must apply to the Classification Board to have the potentially prohibited content rated. Online content is rated by the Classification Board under the same National Classification Code that film, computer games and eligible publications are. To be rated by this system, the Classification Board must class online content into one of the eligible media types. Media that consists of entire unmodified contents of a film or computer game will be classified according to its respective media type or any existing classification for the same piece of media. If content does not consist of a film, computer game or eligible publication, then it is assessed as a film under Clause 25. Once rated, ACMA can determine whether the content constitutes prohibited content under Clause 20 and take appropriate action under the Broadcasting Services Act of 1995 to have the content removed or inaccessible to Australian residents. In summary, the Australian Classification Board does not directly hear complaints about online content. Its role is limited to assessing online content upon application from ACMA, the body that receives complaints and appropriately deals with content once the Classification Board has provided a rating.
Created using Powtoon.